All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of From the Bench to the Mic. I'm your host, Jonathan Holmes. This is episode 16 of Lord knows how many. We're gonna go until the wheels fall off on this sucker. So another week going by. I hope everybody had a great Christmas with the family. Got to spend some time there, hanging out with everyone. Spend some time outside. It was beautiful back where I went back to St. Louis. It was incredible outside. We were out playing football pretty much all day, which was great. Enjoying the weather while we had it. But now it's freezing all of a sudden, and hoops is finally here. Going into conference play starting this weekend. A lot of teams getting some tune-up games before they jump into conference play. Arkansas's got JMU tonight. Michigan State's playing Cornell, which is a sneaky game. Florida is taking on Dartmouth. Few teams just, I think Rutgers has like Delaware State or something. So just a lot of tune-up games to get leading up into conference, and people will be rocking and rolling. We're in the heart of the season, man. Best time of year. Christmas has happened. NBA is in full swing. Got to watch the NBA all day on Christmas Day. Conference plays here. Not the greatest non-con season is over. We're rolling, man. It's so great. Got to go back to the hometown, see a bunch of buddies from high school. Went and visited a high school basketball game, which I highly recommend doing, man. Support your local high schools. Support the local hoops. The high schoolers, man. They're the future of the game. A lot of the kids, you could see in college, not a lot, but the select few you get to see at the high major D1 level change the game, change the area, and just be able to impact others in ways that they wouldn't even thought it was possible. So get out and support your local high schools. That's my one piece of advice for today. They could really definitely use it. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to go watch too, especially in a small town. It's so great seeing the whole community rally around a squad and get after it. I think it's just so great. It's just so special about being back at home. So anyways, I digress. We're going to get into episode 16. I don't have anything to review with you guys from the weekend. Everybody was on their Christmas break. NBA and NFL, of course, were on. So we're going to go through some studs and some duds for the first half of the year. And then we're going to get into my Final Four predictions after we've seen the non-conference go by. So without further ado, baby, let's go. All right, our first segment of the evening. Happy Monday, by the way. I don't think I said that when we opened up. Happy Monday. We're going to go through some studs, and then we're going to go through some duds that I've been able to identify and put together a little bit of a breakdown for y'all on these three teams and one group for some studs, and then I got three duds that haven't really lived up to any expectations. So we'll start with the studs. First one, St. Louis Billikens. Went back home, did a little deep dive on what their team's all about. Josh Schertz from Indiana State brought over Robbie Avila. First season didn't go as planned. They came with super high expectations, of course, coming from Indiana State, who made the tournament, had an incredible record. I think they were like 32-1, missed the tournament because of that lone loss in the conference tournament. People still thought they should have been at large. But of course, ended up getting screwed. Ended up landing the SLU job, and they didn't have as high of they had the high expectations, didn't live up to them. But it's a process. You don't just come in and you just change the culture like that. Kurt Signetti is he's an oddball or an odd one in this one because he just what he did was so special. It's just so tough to do with in hoops. But Josh Schertz, Robbie Avila, they're 12-1, a net of 26 right now, getting some top 25 votes, which is great to see. They have one loss. The lone loss is to Stanford. So have they really played anybody? No, but they're holding teams to 28% from three, which is great. That's a top 10 percentage from a defensive standpoint in the country. So, yes, they haven't really played anybody. There's 0-0 against. They haven't played any quad one games. They've had 10 games at home. They're winning by 28 points per game, which is completely beaten down teams. So, yes, they're not playing anybody, but they're taking care of business, beating the brakes off of them, doing what they should be doing. And they're doing it from a defensive standpoint, which is phenomenal. Again, holding teams to under 28% from three. They're top 3 in rebounding in the country. And I believe they're behind Florida, and I think there's another school in front of them. But they're top 3 in rebounding, which is awesome. Robbie Avila, and they've got some bigs, and they love to attack the glass, which is exactly what you need when you're a mid-major trying to make a run. But another thing that was really stuck out to me was they shoot 78% from the free throw line. Now, 78% doesn't sound like a great number, but as a team, I think that's very, very solid. That puts them in the top 25% in the country of free throw percentage. And when you get down into the nitty-gritty of games, when you get to these grinded out, hard-fought matchups in conference play, you've got to be able to make your free throws. And making those free throws at 78% is going to be a huge, huge kick going forward. I think they have the best chances to win the A10. Them, and I believe George Mason is also 12-1. But I'm going to go with the hometown Billikens to win the A10, make it to the tournament, and then maybe win a couple games, show that they're legit. They haven't played anybody from a quad 1 perspective. I believe they're 3-0 in quad 2, which is solid. So you're winning those games. They're 9-0 and against. They're 3-1 in quad 2. They're 9-0 in quad 4. So obviously you're taking care of business when you need to be. So they have 10 games at home. They're getting into conference play. I'll be curious to see how they stack up whenever they get to the nitty gritty of conference. A10's always dogfight. It's always a bloodbath. Just watching them growing up. I always remember going to SLU games at Chaffetz, and it was always just grinded out games. It felt like teams don't shoot the ball great against one another. So I think that's where that free throw percentage is really going to kick in and really propel the Billikens going forward. So the first stud of the segment, St. Louis Billikens, Robbie Avila and Josh Schertz. Keep it up, man. I can't wait to continue to follow you as you go into A10 play and get to the A10 tournament in March. Second team, another mid-major. We're going to go a little Maction here. Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Stud. 13-0. Net isn't great. Net in about the 40 to 50 range. Depends on where you're looking. Another thing they haven't watched out for, haven't played a quad 1 or a quad 2 opponent. So you're probably asking yourself, why on earth are you picking Miami, Ohio to be the stud of the first half? 13-0 is very difficult to do. There's only 4 teams that have done that. They're number 1 in the country in field goal percentage. They're shooting 55% from the field. At the college level, that is a stupid number, 55%. They're top 5 in three-pointers made per game. And they're number 1 in the country in three-point percentage, 44%. I think the top 5, Cornell's in there, who's playing Michigan State. Alabama's in there. And there's another group of 5 school. I can't remember off the top of my head, but these guys are fun to watch. I haven't had a chance. I've checked some highlights out. I haven't watched the full game of the Miami Redhawks yet, but I would love to. I just want to see these three-pointers in action, see how efficient they are at scoring the ball. Defensively, they're okay. They're averaging 95 points a game, which is, again, you're not playing anybody, but you're taking care of business as a group of 5 school. That's what you need to be doing. So you don't want to be getting into these grinded out games with these. If it's an HBCU, if it's a D2 school, you don't want to be getting into those. That's where you get into some trouble when it comes to conference play, conference tournament, all that good stuff. Okay, so you're averaging 95 points a game. You're number 1 in field goal percentage. You're number 1 in three-point percentage, and you're top 5 in three-pointers made. I love offense. If you know me, I'm not a big defensive guy. I love watching offensive productions. Them, Georgia, Vandy, huge fans of. So keep an eye on the Miami Redhawks as they go into Maction play, and hopefully end up winning the MAC, get into the tournament, and might be able to upset some people. Could totally see them slide in as like a 12 seed, becoming that 12-5 matchup, and bust a few brackets. So that might be a team to keep an eye out for. Our third stud of the segment, Vanderbilt Commodores. Mark Bennington came over from JMU, who was that 32-5 team a couple years ago. Ended up winning that 12-5 matchup in the tournament. So he's got tournament experience, which is great to see. he's really flipped around Vandy, man. In just a couple years, he's got these guys in the top 10, netting out to be in the top 6. I believe there's 6 right now in the net. They're 3-0 versus quad 1, blowing people out. Okay, you beat St. Mary's. They beat St. Mary's by 25 at the Battle for Atlantis in the Battle for Atlantis championship. Broomed everybody down in the Bahamas. Ended up winning the Battle for Atlantis. They beat Wake Forest by 31 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which I was completely wrong on. I was high on the Demon Deacons. I thought, hey, they're at home. They got a top 15 matchup. They've played well against really solid teams as of recently, at the time, as of the season. And Vandy just went in and just beat the brakes off of them. Ended up getting a 30 piece on them on the road. That really solidified my buy-in with the Commodores. I'm all in with Mark Bennington and Vandy. I'm curious to see how they go into SEC play. Their first challenge is really going to be against Bama on January 7th. So that's a game to circle on your calendars. Is Alabama versus Vanderbilt. I think Bama travels into Nashville, so that place I'm sure is going to be rocking. It'll be a top 15 matchup. They open up with South Carolina, which they should broom across. South Carolina's not great, so I expect them to take care of business there. But a couple things about Vanderbilt. One, they have a solid, very, very solid 8-man rotation. Okay, nobody's playing over 30 minutes a game, so they're keeping everybody fresh. That offense is staying efficient. Guys aren't getting tired on the defensive end. They're able to have all their guys when it comes down to the end of the game, which they really haven't had to do yet. So I think that's going to be a huge factor going into the conference play. Is having a solid 8-man rotation that you can trust out there is going to pay dividends for later on in the season. So again, nobody's playing over 30 minutes a game. They should have fresh wheels at the end of the game, especially with these high power offenses and being able to knock down free throws at the end of the game or get stops. Because tired legs make up a tired mind, and that's if you're staying fresh, that's going to be, again, gigantic coming to SEC play. They're also, and going back to just beating the brakes off of people, they're top 15 in scoring margin. They're winning by over 20 plus points per game. That's just, again, super duper solid. So Vanderbilt, you've really impressed me. You've taken my heart on this Christmas holiday. I'll be really buying into you guys coming to 2026. Mark Bennington, I love what he's got going on. Tyler Nickel is a stud. Tyler Tanner, stud. Very underrated guard in the SEC. And just Commodores, man, I think they're legit. Very, very offensively sound. They play solid defense, good enough defense to get by. And they've proved that they could beat St. Mary's isn't a Power 5 school, but Power 4 schools at Wake Forest, they're able to beat the brakes off them. St. Mary's, same deal, and they're 3-0 against Quad 1, which is great to see. So Vanderbilt, Miami, Ohio, and SLU, y'all are the 3 studs from a team perspective. Now, my 4th stud is actually a group, and it's the freshmen. The freshman class this year has just been absolutely outstanding. Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonza, Keaton Wagler, Koa Pete, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Darius Acuff, Nate Ahmed, Kingston Flemings, Mikael Brown Jr. That's 10 guys right there without even blinking an eye. This freshman class really reminds me of the 2017 draft where you had Lonzo Ball, Josh Johnson, Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum. And you had all these studs come out, and I believe the first 7 picks of the draft were all freshmen. Someone needs to fact check me on that, but I believe it was first 7. There were 16 freshmen drafted in the first round, and I totally think that this could be another one of those 15, 16, 17 of the first round. I think that they all can be freshmen. All those dudes right there could be totally lottery picks. They could enter the draft tomorrow and be a top 10 guy. And a lot of people give Darius Acuff a lot of heat for how small he is. Nate Ahmed doesn't play great defense. Darren Peterson, he can't stay healthy. Mikael Brown Jr. needs to stay healthy again. Koa Pete, can he hit the knock down the outside shots? Can he go against double teams? Keaton Wagler, is he big enough? Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonza, I think check all the boxes. Caleb Wilson, I personally think he checks all the boxes. He is a stud. But again, the studs of the freshman class, there's so many that I didn't even list on there that have taken the next step and can be NBA ready. And they're helping make an immediate impact on their teams right from the jump, right when they stepped on campus. So my fourth stud of the first half is the freshman. And I've been blown away by these guys. They're just been so great seeing the freshmen step up in a day and age where the transfer portal is just so big and teams are going after older guys, experienced guys. I love seeing that from that the freshmen are still continuing to stand out above the rest and make huge impacts right away. So can't wait to see these guys get into conference play when it really ramps up and pressure really comes down to their skill and if they're able to make the big play or not. Because a lot of these guys, they're gonna have the ball in their hands come to the last 30 seconds, 20 seconds of the game. So I think all these guys on this list are capable of making a big shot, making a big time play. It's just gonna be a matter of actually doing it when they get to the big moments. And again, going back to the non-conference play, it's been so good that these guys are gonna be battle tested when they come down to the line, or when it comes down to the wire. These guys have gone up against each other. They've gone up against great talent, so it shouldn't be anything new when it gets down to nut cutting time. Okay, so it's gonna be a matter of who learned from those situations and who's gonna be rising to the occasion to set themselves apart from the rest of the group and get into that top 3, top 5 selection of the NBA draft. So, SLU, Miami, Ohio, Vandy, and all the freshmen out there, guys, keep doing your thing. I'm gonna continue to follow y'all. Been very impressed so far, and I think the only good things are gonna come for conference play. Okay, now we'll dive right on into the duds of the 2025-2026 season so far. Last segment was brought to you by Reed Cuts. You're probably wondering, man, Johnny, where'd you get that great haircut? You've been wearing a hat, hiding the long hair. I went to my boy Reed when I was back at home. I love going to visit the guy. He does an excellent job, pays very, very great attention to detail. One of the nicest dudes I know, loves to talk ball. We talk music, talk about life, and just be able to keep each other accountable. So if you're in that St. Louis area, man, I highly recommend hitting up Reed. He's an excellent dude, great barber, even better person. So guy works his tail off. He's got a great price, $25 a pop. Maybe we get a promo code going with Bench to Mike, but I'll talk to him about that sometime down the road. So I'll drop his Instagram username, shoot him a DM, reach out to me. I'll give you his number. Again, he's a huge, great friend of mine, and he's going to be a huge asset of the show going forward. So really appreciate him. Go give him a follow, hit him up, and he'll get your hair right, baby, because he's got me looking clean, baby. I love it. He's got me looking good. So hit up Reed Cuts, man. Reed, love you, kid. But back to the show. All right. The 3 duds so far for the 2025-2026 season. Three Power 5 schools, Power 4 schools. I keep saying Power 5, Power 4 schools. First off, Wisconsin. Preseason top 25. I had high expectations for them. I know that the rest of the media had high expectations for the Badgers coming out of the Big Ten. I picked them to be in the top 5 of the Big Ten standings. That doesn't seem to be happening. They're 0-3 against Quad 1 teams. They got throttled by DeBonza and BYU. Lost 98-70. Their best win right now is probably Northwestern. Big Ten's weird, and they start conference play they play one conference game before Christmas. It's very, very funky. But their best win's probably against Northwestern. It's a Quad 2 victory, 85-73. Walked into their house and got a W. Wisconsin just, I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with them. They have a huge opportunity in front of them from a conference play perspective, you have Purdue, UCLA, and Michigan coming up. So you have a huge test to get your ship back on track and prove that you can be a top 25 team and prove that you can compete with the big dogs in the Big Ten, because you're competing with 3 of them right out of the gate. I believe Purdue's at home. I believe UCLA's at home, but I believe you got to go to Ann Arbor, which nobody wants to play Michigan right now. So, but maybe you get a couple good wins here and you get some confidence riding into the Michigan game. But you gotta get the field goal percentage up. Only shooting about 45% right now. If you're gonna want to pull off some of these upsets and get your team back on track, gonna have to shoot the ball a little bit better. Wisconsin, when Wisconsin's good, I remember back in the day, you had obviously the Sam Decker, you had the Kaminsky's, you had the Nigel Hayes crew. When Wisconsin's good at basketball, it's good for the sport. I think it's just such a passionate fan base. Football obviously hasn't gone the way that they wanted it to go. Hoops is kind of their bread and butter. So I'm rooting for Wisconsin to get back on the right track. Just tall order that's coming in front of them. A tall order. So Badgers, you guys are my dud so far. I want you to get turned around. All these, outside the last one, I don't want them to get turned around. But Wisconsin, the second team. Creighton is our second dud of the first half here. Another preseason top 25 team. They're 8-4. Wisconsin's also, I believe, 8-4 as well. They haven't won a quad 1 game yet. They're 0-4. They got drilled by Gonzaga in the second game of the season. That was kind of going to be like the premier matchup of Owen Freeman versus Graham Ike, Doug McDermott, Mark Few. You're going to have or not Doug McDermott. Gosh, Greg McDermott. My apologies. Greg McDermott against Mark Few. Well, everybody wanted to see a great game, and Gonzaga showed why they are a potential Final Four team. Got beat 90-63. Wasn't a great showing, and it was kind of the beginning of the spiral for the Creighton Blue Jays. They went 1-2 at the player, then they had to go to Players Era in Las Vegas. They went 1-2. Their lone win against an Oregon team that's just not great. Got beat by Iowa State, and I believe the other one was it Houston maybe? Might have been Houston. Yeah. Just not a good showing out in Vegas. Wanted them to play well, they didn't. But they're on the come up. They've won 3 in a row going into Big East play. Now against those three weren't anybody special. But you get Butler, Seton Hall, Villanova, St. John's all coming up here on your schedule. You have a really great chance to get this season back on track and show, hey, non-conference, that's a different team. We're here to show up in big in conference play, compete for a Big East championship, which I think they have all the tools to. I think their coaching is excellent. I love Greg McDermott. I think he's awesome. He normally always gets it figured out. But you got a great chance in front of you to get this ship turned around and head in the right direction for conference play. Because Butler, Seton Hall, and Villanova, all 3 of those are solid teams in the Big East that are more than likely going to make the tournament. St. John's, we know what they have from a talent perspective. Obviously, it hasn't gone the way that they wanted it to go. But if you can pick up 2, 3, shoot 4 wins and get off to that great start, who knows where Creighton's ceiling actually is? Probably a Sweet 16, maybe an Elite 8, but we'll see what happens after here in a couple weeks. See where they're sitting from a Big East perspective. Now, the third one, Mizzou. This is a team that I don't think is going to get it turned around. They're 0-3 versus Quad 1 and Quad 2's teams. They're 10-3 right now. You're 9-0 against the Quad 4. Your 3 losses are to Notre Dame, who just lost to Purdue Fort Wayne, KU by 20, and Illinois by 40+. So when you've played against Power 4 schools, you got nothing to show for it. I believe they've only beat down HBCUs, which is nothing wrong. I mean, HBCUs are great. They just beat the brakes off of them. They're 9-0. That's what they're 9-0 against. They're not great at rebounding. They can't shoot the 3 ball. They don't have a premier scorer. And I think that's what they were looking for in Mark Mitchell, but he just hasn't been anywhere near the Duke Blue Devil Mark Mitchell that I've come to know. They only make 7 threes a game, so you're not shooting your way back into into the tournament. And when I watched them in person against Illinois, I just was so unimpressed. It looked like what is his name? Dennis Gates, whatever his name. It looks like he had a JV team out there, and I was not a big fan. Not a big fan. Effort was not there. You got Jacob Cruz, who's like a 12th year senior. He's out there still hooping. He's not the answer. Again, Mark Mitchell, love the guy. He was at Duke, transferred to Mizzou for a bigger role, and he just hasn't been able to step up to the plate. Now I know they got some injuries. They're going to get some guys back. Anora Boateng, he's been super disappointing. 5-star guy out of Little Rock. Just Mizzou doesn't have anything going right now, and I don't think they're going to get it turned around. I don't really want them to get it turned around, just because I've been an Illinois guy since I was a kid. Big Arkansas guy, of course, as you can see. Just not big on Mizzou. So that's my 3 duds for the first half of the season. Wisconsin, Creighton, Mizzou. I think Wisconsin and Creighton have a great opportunity to get it turned around. Mizzou, they're just going to get throttled in the SEC. I think they finished bottom 3 with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I'm sorry, not Ole Miss, South Carolina and Mississippi State. But, who knows? Maybe they go up and shock some people. All right, now, my Final Four predictions. Let's get into it. All right, my Final Four predictions. Let's get to it, man. I haven't given one just yet, but now we've seen the first half of the season. We're gonna get into the nitty gritty of conference play. So let's drop a couple of predictions. Why don't we? I gave you guys my conference champions in my last video. Go check those guys out. But my Final Four, the Bench to Mike inaugural Final Four. First off, I've got to go with my Duke Blue Devils. I always pick them. I think that they have an opportunity to win a national championship this year, let alone with how great some of these teams are. I love Duke. I think they have an excellent team. From a talent standpoint, Cam Boozer is the real deal. I think they have a really well-oiled machine. And I'm all Duke all the way. I think Shire can finally get it done this year, get to a Final Four, get to a national championship, and hopefully get over the top. Been waiting for a while for them. They just can't seem to get over the hump. But I think this can definitely be a year that they do it, given all the talent that's out there across the entire country. So Duke is my first one. Second, UConn Huskies. UConn, I think, is going to completely roll through the Big East. I think they go undefeated, to be honest with you. I think I talked about that in my last episode. And I think they just steamroll into the Final Four. Alex Caravan, Dan Hurley, Solo Ball, Silas Demery. I think that they are excellent everywhere. I think they have no holes. I think they have a deep roster. They play fast. They can beat you with the 3. They can grind it out against you. They can play in the half court. Defensively, they love to get after you. The intensity's back. UConn is here, and they're ready to reclaim the throne that they had a couple years back. I don't know if it's necessarily as dominant of a run as what they had a couple years ago, but I think that they roll into the Final Four pretty easily. So you got Duke, you got UConn. Number 3, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I've been so impressed with Mark Few, Graham Ike, Braden Huff. I've been just so impressed with them. I think that their guards, Tylen Grant Foster, Braden Smith, Adam Miller, I think those guys, I think that they can play well enough to get them into a Final Four. Do I think they win the national championship? No. But I think Ike and Braden Huff can man the ship. I say great guard play wins in March. I think that that Gonzaga's guards play well enough to get them to a Final Four. That's why I don't think that they win the national championship, is their guard play. But I think they can definitely get there with how dominant their bigs are. Now, if they get in foul trouble, different story. But so far, they haven't really had any trouble with fouls. So give me the Gonzaga Bulldogs to be my number 3 team into the Final Four. Now, last but certainly not least, I've got BYU. I got AJ DeBonza, Rob Wright, what's his name? Kennard Davis. I think BYU and AJ is, I think that they're legit. They came back. They were down 20 plus to Clemson at the Jimmy V Classic. Came back and got that win. Shows that they can really grind it out against you. They can play when they get down. Now, you don't, obviously not the ideal situation. They can play grinded out games when teams shoot the lights out. Did that against Delaware when Delaware walked into Provo, shot the lights out in the first half. They were able to grind it out and then go on a huge run to separate themselves. So that's another key point. And I think AJ is probably the best player in the country outside of Cam Boozer. He's a triple-double against Abilene Christian. He's an NBA ready dude. He's probably the best NBA prospect. I see no holes in his game. He's got great vision. He loves when people double team him, he's not afraid to pass it out and get the ball back, later in the possession. He's very efficient. He likes to get to the free throw line. He doesn't take a ton of shots. He doesn't take bad shots. Seems like an excellent teammate. Rob Wright is an absolute baller. I think he's incredible. BYU is I think going to surprise some people, get to a Final Four. I know they have DeBonza, of course, but I don't think a lot of people have the Cougars getting all the way to a Final Four, maybe even a national championship. But he can be exactly what Cooper Flagg was, except he can get BYU over the top and get to that Final Four national championship type atmosphere. So Duke, UConn, Gonzaga, BYU, those are my four. I'm going to stick with them until the end here. We'll have our NCAA auction coming up in March. I will be bidding on those 4 teams just because that's who I got the most faith in right now. I think that there's probably 16 teams that can win the national championship, but give me those 4 to set themselves apart from the rest. All right, and that's going to conclude episode 16. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give me a like, give me a follow on Instagram. Give me a follow on, obviously give me a subscribe on YouTube, drop a comment, drop a like. Let's get active. Let me know what your Final Four predictions are. And conference plays here, man. Christmas time's past. 2026 coming up, baby. Everybody have an awesome, happy new year. Be safe out there. And I will talk to you guys next year. Peace.